this is Ellis, and I'm here with Julia and Natalie. Today, we're going to be interviewing Natalie about her experiences being a sociology major and music minor at the University of Chicago. Everyone, let's give a warm welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so nice to see you, Natalie.
I'm glad to be here with y'all, even if it is over Zoom. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so nice to have you here with us. We're really excited to start interviewing you, and we're just going to go ahead and jump into the first question. Can you give us a short little overview about you?
Okay, so I am from Greenville, South Carolina, born and raised. And I don't know, in general, I play violin. I love to read. I love to craft and cook and bake. So yeah, that's the main things I love to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we also should say Natalie and I have been really good friends since 6th grade, and a great person. We miss, but we're so glad we can interview you. So the next question, it's a big one, but I think you can do it. Why U Chicago?
Oh gosh, this is like the quintessential like college question. So I originally knew for college that I wanted to be in a city. And so from there, it was kind of looking at like who gives me the academic environment that I want, and then who gives me the social environment. And so I wanted somewhere that was really focused on like learning for the sake of learning and like being really engaged in an academic community. And then on the social side of things, I wanted it to be more collaborative and less competitive. Like I wanted people who wanted to work together and not just like climb their way to the top. And so then that kind of got me to Chicago because it was the balance of like people who genuinely wanted to be there and learn, but also who wanted to like work together and have this shared experience. Yeah.
That was so good. So to follow that up, you talked about wanting to be in a city, but I was wondering if you could elaborate on what motivated you to attend university out of state.
So for me, a huge part of it was looking at what was available to me in state, and South Carolina has a lot of great options. But because when I was looking at a city, I was mainly thinking of somewhere that's walkable with great public transport, somewhere that honestly like fits my financial aid needs. And so in-state can be a great tuition option for some people, but sometimes it is cheaper to go out of state, just depending on like how your FAFSA works out and what your actual college is going to give you in terms of. And so I think that was just a particular decision there too, that it happened to pan out that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that people don't talk about enough is that finances college is expensive, and sometimes the finances can play a really big part in where you decide to go for better or worse. And I think it's really great that you're being willing to openly talk about that and have dialogue about it, because I don't think we discuss it enough.
So it seems like you've really been enjoying Chicago so far, and we were wondering, what do you think has been the most fulfilling part about being there?
Oh gosh. Okay, this is gonna have to be like a two-part answer because again, like academically, socially. So academically, I feel just really inspired by like the research that I want to do. So coming to Chicago, sociology, like huge leader in the field in that sense. And so the professors I've been able to connect with have just like really opened my eyes to like what like the discussions can be and like what research can be and like just the possibilities for all of this. And so it's just really engaging. And then socially, on the other side of things, it's so great to be around so many people who just like all are passionate about something, all care about something. And so in that way, it's like even in these COVID times where it feels frustrating and like harder to meet people, each time I interact with people, it's just been a really impactful experience where I always walk away being like, whoa, that person was so cool. And which I think is just really cool to be able to like appreciate something interesting about everyone. Yeah.
So it sounds like that you've just had a wonderful time in that way, and it's so great to hear that. But a lot of people tend to face challenges, especially in their first year of college. So what do you think has been the most challenging part about being there?
I think a lot of it does stem from just like being away from home for the first time. I think it was going to be easier going out of state than it was because you think like, oh, like I'll just be away from my family and I'll call them. And it's tough. Like it can be tough to realize like all I want is a hug from my mom right now. And it's like, oh, they are a 16-hour drive away, however long it is. And so I think it can be tough learning to rely on yourself to like feel safe and comfortable. And so it's definitely a process, but it's one of the like tougher learning curves, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
As a friend, I feel like I've seen you really grow in that and learn how to be even, I mean, you're so independent already, but like learn how to be really self-reliant and confident in your ability to support and be there for how, like for your wonderful self. So That's been really
Well, that
neat.
is the cool thing. I think like I've had a lot of time to be like, oh, what does make me happy? So like, whereas in high school, I never like just did things for fun. Here, I'm like relearning to play piano and I'll just like craft and paint for fun, even though I'm bad at it. But it's just something that like, oh, there are things that I can do for fun that make me feel safe and like myself. And like, I don't know, little things that I wouldn't have thought of if I was just like relying on my old habits, I
I
guess.
think that's such a
Yeah.
great point. So switching gears a little bit, we've talked about that you're majoring in sociology and that you're very passionate and very good at it. But what is it that made you decide to major in something other than music? Because music's been a big part of your life for a long time too.
I think what I realized is I love music a lot, but when I first took a sociology class in high school, I was like, whoa, this feels new and fresh to me in a way that music doesn't. So music is more of a source of comfort for me, and I really rely on it to feel at ease. And so in that sense, I wanted my professional aspiration to be something that was more invigorating, something I was willing to let myself get frustrated with a little bit more and work through so that music could stay a safe space. And sociology does that for me. Like I genuinely love it, but at the same time, it's something that I'm okay if it does leave me a little frustrated or I do have to feel a little unbalanced at the end of it because I know I can come back to it. But music remains like a safe space, I guess. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Like how music has different purposes for different people. Like
Yeah.
like you have had it for so long that it seems like more of a comfort thing. And I've seen lots of people who've been studying music for such a long time decide to pursue another subject because they find that that exercises their brain more. They enjoy learning about this new thing and they think it would be something that would be exciting for their career. So that's really interesting that you touch on that because I think a lot of people wonder like, well, somebody studies music so long, they're so good at it, like why not just go into it? And like everybody has their own purpose behind it. And I think that that's a really valuable thing. And that's so great that that's what you gain from music is that sense of comfort.
Yeah. Well, I feel like burnout among musicians seems like such a common thing. Like you play for so long and then it's like you don't love it anymore. And I don't feel like I ever want to get to that point. So I'm trying to like think ahead and like just prevent that a little bit. So I never feel like I just want to drop music entirely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also really interesting. I think I fall somewhere in between Natalie, you and Julia of
Yeah.
like being a comfort versus like a
Mhm.
passion career. I mean, obviously
Mhm.
we're so passionate about music, but like it's really interesting because I feel like what you were just saying about sociology is what I hear Julia say for violin.
Mhm.
And like I think when you're talking about academics, like it stimulates me and I like it, but I could never continue to like pursue that in the
Yeah.
same way. So it's really interesting to hear both of you talk about that.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
We sort of already touched on this, and we can keep going if you'd rather. But what made you decide to minor music? Like, why not just play it casually? Like, why did you want to have that part, like that, continue to be a part of your education?
I think that is where the dedication comes into it. Like I have spent so much effort and like I know that our lives should not be based on a piece of paper that has your degree, but in a sense it is nice to have the affirmation of like all the years of work you put in and even in the university context because I also feel like I'm just getting a different understanding of music. Like I'm not getting a performance minor. It would just be in music itself at large. So like theory, performance, just like a more broad view of it. And so I think it both is kind of just like fulfilling as like showing my effort in music and then also just saying like I learned something different. Like it wasn't just me with my solo private teacher. It was like I'm taking music theory classes, I'm doing orchestra. So it's a more broad scope, I guess, of what I'm doing here.
That's
Yeah.
another great point of like continuing to have music be a part of your education does not mean taking lessons, reporting how much time you're practicing, like doing all these things. Like it can be so much more than that. And you're such a great example of that. And I love you for that.
Yeah, I do appreciate how many different ways there are that you can study music. And sometimes people don't realize how many different avenues that one can take.
I didn't realize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can major in it, you can minor in it, you can get a certificate at some schools. You can just take lessons and not even pursue any kind of certification.
Just do orchestra.
You can just do orchestra. There's so many different ways to pursue that. And I think that it's really interesting that we're getting a variety of that with these interviews for sure.
It's even interesting at U Chicago. Like I think you think of an academic school and I was a little bit worried, like, are people going to care about music here? Like, is that going to be a thing for me? Because I'm used to being around people who like are like you, like, you know, Ellis and Julia, like who want to do it with their lives. And I was worried that it was not going to be like a downstep, but just people who weren't quite as passionate. And I think it's interesting finding so many people like me who like still like want music to be a part of their lives after such a long time. But again, like me, they also have other interests. And so like you will be able to find people in a musical community no matter where you are, which I think can be a little worried, like, do I drop music? Do I not? Like someone will be there for you, which I think is really encouraging.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I'm glad that environment is well fostered there. So we have one more question before we get to our rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
And that is, how do you split your time between your sociology major and your music minor? Because music can still be pretty heavy and intensive, even if you're just pursuing a minor, but also you have this really cool major that you're doing. So how do you split your time between those two things?
I think, not to say that like these are like classes, because I am passionate about it, but I almost just treat it like my other classes. Like I try to get something done for each class every day. And so some days that does look like I'm only getting to the piano and practicing for 10 minutes and doing like some homework. And other days that looks like me sitting in the practice room with my violin and like just playing for fun. Whereas on the flip side, sometimes it's me poring over sociology readings and taking notes. And then other days it's the opposite, where I'm like, I read 2 sentences, that's it. Like, so it is just about balancing, I think. Like some days they're just going to have more than others, but I think ultimately it ends up being a pretty even split of my time, just in different ways. I just feel like I have to make it a priority. Like it is something I have to say, like, oh, I do have to remember to practice, because otherwise you get to the end of the week and it's like, oh, I spent all my time on sociology, or vice versa, either way. So it's just about, I think, like keeping it in mind, at least for me. Yeah.
Balance is really important, I think.
Speaking words of wisdom.
Well, even in my social life too, like making sure I make friends with people who are like, I can just play chamber music with for fun. And then also being like, oh, you're a political science major, you're a social science major, like finding people that you can connect with who like share those same passions, I think also just helps remind you like why you love both of those. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. I wish we could linger more on this, but I think it's time for some rapid fire.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Favorite place to study on campus?
Harper Memorial Library Reading Room.
Describe Chicago in 3 words.
Oh my God. Okay. Community. Oh God, I was gonna say fast paced, but this answer is super slow. And then everyone says it, but cold. Like honestly.
What is your favorite day of the week?
Tuesdays or Fridays. It depends.
What is your most favorite classical piece?
Oh God, to play or to listen to. Okay, so at the moment, I'm really loving some Fanny Mendelssohn string quartets to listen to as I'm marching across campus.
And then what is your go-to coffee or drink order?
Okay, so my favorite little coffee shop is at our little farmer's market on Saturdays morning. And I always just ask the barista what their tea recommendation is. So whatever they recommend is usually going to be my favorite. Yeah.
Okay, and now for the biggest question. What advice would you give to your younger self, Natalie?
Okay, this is going to be really generic, like most advice that people tell their younger selves, but I think like trusting your gut and your instinct. I think a lot of people are like, weigh the pros and cons. And at a certain point, like your gut knows what to do. So if something feels right, if it feels passionate, like it's not necessarily a wild dream. Like you really can pursue it. Or like if something feels like, no, maybe I'm pushing myself too much, like that's a boundary for you. Like listen to that. So I think like trusting your gut and like what feels the right, like even if it's like a big move out to college or just like a little thing of like, I don't know, just like smaller decisions, like really trusting your instinct and your gut. Cause like it's right. Like you know what to say.
I love
So
that.
good. Oh, make my heart melt. So sweet.
That's such a good answer. And I think so many people will benefit from hearing that for sure. Natalie, it was so nice to have you with us today. You had some wonderful answers to our questions. And if you would like to check out Natalie's day in the life, it will be linked at the very end of this video and in the description. So please go check it out. She's got lots of really cool things that she did and that she does every day. So go check that out. It's really exciting. And I just wanted to say once again, thank you so much, Natalie, for being here.
Thanks for having me. I love talking with y'all.
We love talking with you.
It was so much fun. If you're interested in more content like this, please subscribe down below and also give this video a like and comment some feedback, or if you have any questions, feel free to comment them for Natalie or for us. You can also reach us at creativeconnectionsufsc@gmail.com if you have any further questions. Thank you so much, Natalie. We hope you all have a wonderful day.
Bye.